Hello and welcome to today's historic best of 3 deck tech and gameplay video on Mono Black Devotion. Mono Black Devotion is, I suppose you would call it a mid-range deck that takes use of and utilizes the devotion mechanic really in a single card in Grey Merchant of Asphodel, which is a 5-mana 2/4 creature that when it enters the battlefield you basically deal X damage and heal X damage, where X is your devotion to black, X being the number of black mana little symbols on all the permanent cards you own. So we like to take use of a lot of creature or permanent cards that have a lot of black mana pips. Besides the Grey Merchant itself, cards like Phyrexian Obliterator, Ayara, and even Murderous Riders or Tymarets here are all good cards with lots of black mana symbols in their name. Besides that, the deck just likes to use a lot of generally useful things. We want to try and just be very efficient with every card slot. Baleful Masteries to be efficient removal at either low or high end of the curves. Gutterbones and Knights for early pressure. Thoughtseizes to disrupt your opponent's hand. Also, and that is the basic premise of the deck. Lands are not terribly difficult. I have a buttload of snow-covered lands and a couple of Faceless Havens to make use of the monocolored nature of this deck. And I have one of several different kinds of lands. I have one Hive of the Eye Tyrant, one Castle Locthwain, and one Cabal Stronghold, all for pretty self-explanatory reasons. Hive to be a creature hater card, and is also a little bit of main deck graveyard hate. Castle Locthwain to draw you more cards, and if we need them, we also use Cabal Stronghold as a way to really sink a lot of mana into boards. However, if you at home don't have a Cabal Stronghold, just run another swamp. Don't waste the wild card. I just happen to have it, and it can have edge cases where it's useful, but it's by no means necessary. Sideboard, pretty simple. Legion's End for small creatures, Noxus Scraps for green and white hate, which is pretty relevant. Sword of Body and Mind for blue and green hate. Feed the Swarm is usually enchantment hate, since black doesn't really have a great way of dealing with enchantments normally. And then I'm running 2 copies of each of the black shrines if we need to go long against other late grindy value matchups or even control matchups. Usually these 2 cards are very good for trying to match that value as well as go as long as those style of decks. Last card is a single Crux of Fate. Since this is often just a black board wipe, since dragons are not the most common creature type floating around in the meta. And that is the deck tech for Mono Black Devotion. Hopefully you like the should be shorter nature of this. And if you're sticking around now, we'll go on to game number 1. Game number 1 with Mono Black Devotion. We'll go ahead and play first because we have a brain. Honestly, it's a pretty aggressive little hand. 3 lands, 4 spells, plenty to do. Can't really complain all that much. Go ahead and play Hive while it's untapped. And play a Knight of the Ebon Legion, so we can apply Deep Pressure. Playing some our opponent in a pass, we play a Swamp and just play a Thoughtseize. See what we're going against. What is this, like some green-white company stuff, I imagine? We'll go ahead and get rid of the interaction on their side. So we still have a bit of interaction of our own. I imagine the next turn will be, yeah, an Oasis and then an Illuminarch Aspirant. We'll go ahead and attack and see if they take the block. If they block, we'll go ahead and pump the Knight. Does he take it? We're cool if he does, either way. He doesn't take the block, so we'll just go ahead and swift in the Aspirant. And then just poke him in for 1. Opponent's turn. Might play another land and play his Ronus, the Indomitable, which would be fine since he doesn't have the Ronus online yet. Or does he maybe play another Luminarch Aspirant? And we just kind of do the same thing over and over. An Archon of Emeria. Very nice. We'll go ahead and play a Swamp, and again, go ahead and attack with the Knight and see if he takes the block. Once again, he does not take the block, which is fine. We'll go ahead and play the Ayara. We don't really mind the game being reduced to one spell a turn all that much, since we aren't really playing much more than that anyway. Let's see. Shock Land from our opponent comes to play tapped, followed by the Aspirant. Let's see where he throws the counter. Throws it on the Aspirant itself. Again, we'll go ahead and... Actually, we'll play the Faceless Haven so we can have that ready to go in a future turn. Oh, non-basics. Right. I goofed that a little bit. I had forgotten about that line of text. Anywho, we'll go ahead and attack again with the Knight. Rinse and repeat as needed. If he takes the block, we'll be fine. If not, we'll still be fine. Go ahead and just play a Murderous Rider. Try and get our devotion nice and high for the Grey Merchant in our hand. Let's see. Let's check the Ronus again. Ronus the Indomitable can't attack or block unless you control another singular creature 4 power or greater. Okay. Another Luminarch Aspirant. Let's see where his Aspirant counter is going to go. One on the Archon. And one on another Aspirant. Yeah, honey, you get that. You're not scratching up anything important. That's why that's there. Chooses not to attack with anything. Again, we'll do the same little... Hopefully he eats the block. But if he doesn't, it's just little bits of chip damage. If he blocks, we will go ahead and pump the Knight of the Ebon Legion, which we can do twice. So we can pretty reliably win any engagement, but he doesn't. We'll go ahead and play the Grey Merchant as just a big boy. With Devotion 8, as well as the Ayara trigger means we hit for 9, actually. And we'll go ahead and end turn. And because they lost 9 life with both the Grey Merchant and the Ayara, our Knight of the Ebon Legion got bigger anyway. Scavenging Ooze from our opponent. That's his one spell for the turn, and only he has creatures to exile. But he has no more green mana in which to do so. The game sort of... Oh, well, he would have had to lose a life to get that, I guess. See where his Luminarch counters go this turn. One on the Aspirant. Where does the other one go? So they're just passing each other +1/+1 counters. See what, if anything, our opponent attacks with, since he's getting to the point now where he has to block the Knight pretty much regardless. So we'll go ahead, we'll go ahead and do the same Knight trick here. He now has to block it, since I can pump it in response and just kill him. Although I imagine he might chump block with something a little bit smaller. With the Archon, you say? Okay. And the Luminarch Aspirant. I think the double block is... While I understand what you're doing, it might be a little unnecessary. I can, if I want to, just double pump this and be A-okay. And the ensuing Death Touch, he's triple blocking it. He's really not going to like this in a minute. We'll go ahead and activate this. Let's see, hits for 3 and 4, 7, 7, and 9. Activate it one more, go up to 9, then we still die. So we'll just go ahead and do 1 damage to each, and our Death Touch means we kill all 3 of the creatures. And we have a Faceless Haven that we can hit with if we need to. To be fair, he now can eat a few creatures out of his yard, but he decides to collect a company instead. Hoping to match the board, creature size-wise. Of course, I have 2 creature lands. Opponent gets a Spellbinder and another Archon. We only have a Snow-Covered Swamp in hand, so he's going to be upset about that. I think... Let's see, he can eat 1 creature and go to 5. Which is, I imagine, what he's going to do. Whether he eats my yard or his yard is of little consequence. He didn't. Okay, that makes actually no sense. Anywho, we'll go ahead and Hive of the Eye Tyrant. That's not what I would have done with that mana, but that's fine. We'll go ahead and also play the Callous Bloodmage. And then use it to... So Ayara is going to trigger once. Taking him from 4 to 3. If I make the Pest token, he should go down another point. Down to 2. So then if we swing with all... Yep! Should be lethal. Sorry about that. I needed to do that math in my head a little bit. They appear to be yeah, just a green-white collected company style deck. So we're not really going to do that much. Other than, honestly, it might just be a Sword of Body in mind. And maybe a Crux of Fate if we're really that scared. We'll go ahead and get rid of some Hunted Nightmares since we don't want to give his creatures Death Touch if we can avoid it. And we'll cut 1 Thoughtseize since we loosely have an idea of what his deck is. The Thoughtseizes now are more cards to get rid of. Or cards to use to get rid of something annoying of theirs. And we get a bad... we get a bad mulligan. Or we need a bad hand and need mulligan. Go ahead and mulligan. Okay, that's better. We'll go ahead and throw one of the Grave Merchants back. We can always just Knight of the Ebon Legion on 1. Force from our opponents into the Lovestruck Adventure. Heart's Desire, that's what it's called. Again, go ahead and play the Knight. We drew a Thoughtseize, so next turn we can just Thoughtseize our opponent's hand. Another Forest, followed by a Land of War Elf. We draw a Gutterbones, so we can make good use of our mana. Gutterbones for 1. Then the Thoughtseize, and we'll take a look what they got. Spellbinder is the most annoying card in their hand, since I very much like the contents of my hand. Let's see if they double block. If they double block, we'll kill the Land of War Elf just to get rid of that. But I'd be surprised if they do. That would be a silly decision on their part. I didn't see a... Oh, Kazandu Mammoth is technically a land. So he can Kazandu land and then plays the Lovestruck Beast. I believe we'll go ahead and just Murderous Rider away the Lovestruck Beast. Go ahead and attack with our board of our Knight and Gutterbones here. Block the Gutterbones. To be fair, it's the only real trade to make since you can actually kill the Gutterbones. Have Aronis the Indomitable from our opponent. Alright, Cabal Stronghold's not the worst. We'll go ahead and attack, and again, see if they take the... Attack or block. See if they take the trade here. We might actually just go ahead and pump it anyway. hitting him for 4, and then playing the second knight, allowing both of our knights to get their 1/1 counter triggered. This doesn't give us the biggest Grey Merchant play, but I feel a little safer with this one. At least Spellbinder does kind of take a Grey Merchant, which does suck a little bit. We can still play the Grey Merchant, we just have to play it for more, which, while annoying, is not the end of the world. Again, go ahead and attack with both. If he blocks one of them, we'll now use the Knight trigger as... I'm sorry, what are you doing? Okay, we'll go ahead and just activate one. Try and get our board to be very big and scary. We'll also return the Gutterbones to our hand, now that we can. And again, both knights get their triggers. They have to have something very mean and scary. The most they might do... Nope, collect a company from our opponent. See what they can get. At most... Okay, so... Alright, Skyclave sucks. A lot. Each one of our knights. Luminarch Aspirant. Will probably hit the Spellbinder so the Ronis can attack if I had to. Yep. Take a guess. Elects not to, though, to be fair. Let's see. We can go ahead and play a Murderous Rider, and we'll play a Gutterbones. We're going to try and get our devotion high enough to go over our opponent here. See, our opponent does have a rather sizable board, to be fair. So there's that. Let's see. Scavenging use from our opponent. I'm not certain there's any cards in graveyard. Okay, no, there's creature cards in graveyard, so he can get a little bit bigger. If we draw a land, we can always... Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can't play the second one, sadly. He does immediately eat up one of his creatures to gain some life. Followed by another Aspirant. He might just be trying to make his Spellbinder big enough to kill me on his own. Attack, okay, he goes 1 to Ronis, 1 to Spellbinder. Swings with both for 11. I'm weirdly gonna actually take this, since I think we can sort of stabilize with good enough devotion. Go ahead and hit no attacks, see what our opponent does. But he can just kill us in the air with the Spellbinders because I'm a big old dum-dum. Damn it! So I made that one a bit of a goof. These games take forever, sadly. Let's see. I still do stand by that decision here, though. Maybe some Thoughtseizes is out for some Sanctum of Stonefangs, so we can maybe gain some life and stall for a little bit longer. Although this has been a very fun game from our opponent, to be fair. Go ahead and play first, because again we have a brain. It's a lot of it's a lot of lands, but I think we're gonna keep this. It's a hand that can technically work, which is enough for me right now. See what our opponent will do in a minute, since we're going first. Probably just play a Hive of the Eye Tyrant, since we can actually play it untapped right now. See what our opponent does. Shock land and then nothing. Go ahead and snow-covered swamp and just kind of sit. Next turn we can always hold up the Murderous Rider. We might just very well do. We'll go ahead and Murderous Rider the Aspirants. Those things quickly grow out of control. Very, well, I guess very fast, but that's what quickly means, Max. Let's see. Shockland from our opponent. Lead Spellbinder. All we have is land. Surprise! You can get rid of the Aghanim Awakening. We're not really too concerned about that. We'll go ahead and play the Haunted Menace. we can go ahead and give a Death Touch counter on his Spellbinder, but it is the only creature he has. So there is that. Let's see what our opponent does next turn, however. We could always Hive of the Eye Tyrant if we need to. Having 2 creatures. Oh, no, there goes that. Skyclave from our opponent eats our Haunted Nightmare. But we can go ahead and use the Hive here to try and match their board. Also going to try and eat up a little bit of their graveyard here and there. Island from our opponent. That Spellbinder is going to be a baby bit of a problem. Another Spellbinder. That's a very big card, to be fair. You're going to need some very particular cards to get out of this. Which is fine. We'll go ahead and play a Murderous Rider and a Knight of the Ebon Legion. Just looking to somewhat contest. Don't want to give this up freely, anyway. Now, admittedly getting... Oh god, I clicked a company. Getting hit for 6 with the Spellbinders is not good. Pretty much regardless of how you try and spin it. It'd be great if they bricked, but I doubt they will. A Love-Struck Beast. And a Archon of Emeria. The Spellbinders. We need some very particular cards here. What a crap way to lose. I think we actually do lose, don't we? I could block. So I think we'll go ahead and I guess Swift in the Love-Struck Beast. I don't think it matters, to be fair. Go ahead and attack. Since we've lost fair and square, I might as well play it out. Yep, that is the right move from our opponent. I will, however, let them finish it out, though. Good game from our opponent, though. Their deck is just a very solid one. Admittedly, not a whole lot of bells and whistles, but don't always need them. We're not going to bother to, like, block or anything since they basically have this in the air alone. So just go ahead and let them have it. But anyway, we'll be moving on now to game number 2. And game number 2 with our Mono Black Devotion. We are going first. This hand isn't awful. I'm not in love with it, but we'll go ahead and keep it. Since it's got both a 2-drop and a 4-drop, and hopefully combine some. Please don't be Jund Food. Pardon my French, but I fucking hate that deck. It's so boring. It's just admitting freely of I don't try. Okay, we could still not be Jund Food and be alright here. Because they don't usually run Maze Mind Tomes. Oh, this has turned out great. We're curving out beautifully. Go ahead and swamp into a Tymaret and attack with our Gutterbones. I'd be very surprised if he, blocks. Our opponent has a Gilded Goose, a Maze Mind Tome, an plays an Oracle of Moldavia. That's great. I don't know what your deck is, but please disregard my shit talking. I clearly don't know what I was talking about. Go ahead and swamp and play Ayara, I suppose. Or do we kill the Oracle of Moldavia because we're afraid of the value it might have? We'll go ahead and attack. Maybe he blocks with the Oracle. I don't think he would. Yeah. So I think we're actually going to Murderous Rider down their Oracle. Since we don't really want him to have that much value. We know he draws a Land of War this turn. Which, while not technically drawing nothing, it's practically not that much in this particular circumstance. Mastermind's Acquisition. Okay, I don't know what your deck is, but I am all about it, Jack. I'm loving this game. This is going to be... I hope... Please stay for this whole game, Six-Armed Gamer. I want to use this footage. We'll go ahead and Snow-Covered Swamp, followed by a Phyrexian Obliterator. And again, we'll just attack with Tymaret and Gutterbones. He might actually block with his Gilded Goose now, actually. Yeah, he appears to have cashed in the only food he thinks he's probably going to get to use. Which is a fair point. Opponent is on 10 life. 5 lands. Shock something in. Shadow's Verdict. Alright, that's a good way to stall for time. Finally activates a Maze Mind Tome, gaining some, admittedly, much-needed life. We'll go ahead and Snow-Covered Land. Swamp, sorry. And then I guess we'll do an Ayara and a Knight of the Ebon Legion. With both Ayara's triggers and the Phyrexian Obliterator, we will easily hit the Knight of the Ebon Legion's 4 damage trigger. So our opponent's move again. Okay. I still want to know what your deck was, because I don't think we got to see what the thing was that you pulled. I'm actually gonna just run it again, since I don't really know what his deck's trying to do. I don't know if I should sideboard a lot in or not sideboard anything in. And since we did win the first game, we'll go ahead and use the leverage that being one game up can afford us. Or at least to me. That's my particular thoughts. I could be, and usually am, very wrong about this thing. Hi, Carmel. Hi. You want to come hang out with Dad? Daddy just doing video. Okay. That's it. You have to be careful around the cords. That's all the Dad asks. Go second. We have 2 lands. We have a play on turn 1. If we draw basically a land, we'll go ahead and keep this. This is one of those sketchy keeps, to be fair. Forced from our opponent and a Gilded Goose. Oh, it's not. That wasn't not a land game. We'll go ahead and Agadeems for the land. Play it untapped and play our Knight of the Ebon Legion. We really need a land between now and a turn from now. Druid class. I haven't really seen this one. Druid class, when a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Cool. 3 mana, level 2. Additional land on your turn. Cool. 5 mana, level 3. When it becomes level 3, a land you control becomes a creature with haste and gets power and toughness equal to the amount of lands. Cool. Again, game, this is not lands. You're killing me here. We're not going to bother to attack since they can just block it with the goose and nothing happens. Oh god, Fabled Passage. Maze Mind Tome, as well as the Fabled Passage. Simple Scry. I would have... This might be a bit of missequencing from our opponent, because I believe the correct play is to Fabled Passage first, so you can, like, use the Scry more effectively. Oh, thank God we got a land. Okay. Normally I would... Okay, no, we can do this second main. We'll go ahead and attack with both. Again, if he blocks the Knight, we'll go ahead and pump up. Don't think he does. So we'll go ahead and just hit him for 3. Be fine. I'm going to play the Hunted Nightmare. I don't remember, because this is a very niche situation, if a creature with 0 power has Death Touch, I don't think it does combat damage. Therefore, the Death Touch part doesn't actually happen. I could be wrong, but I believe that's how the interaction works. Hi, baby Carmel, being a window cat. Does end up cracking the Fabled Passage. He has shown to have Shadow's Verdict, but that's a 5 mana card. Another Mastermind's acquisition. Maybe he met... Huh. I mean, I guess he could have masterminded for that. We'll go ahead and just play the Phyrexian Obliterator as just a big boy. If he does play another Shadow's Verdict, it only gets rid of 3-cost things. And that still does leave a big old mean Phyrexian Obliterator. Hi, Caramel! Hanging out in front of the screen. Little sweet baby cat is not made of glass. I can't see what... Come on. Come here, baby girl. I don't want to be mean and evict you. Thank you. Good girl. Let's see. I see a Maze Mind Tome and a level 2 Druid class. I think we're alright here. We'll go ahead and just probably win. Grey Merchant of Asphodel and a swing out is, I believe, guaranteed lethal. Yeah. And that was Mono Black Devotion. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the hopefully shorter style of video as I stumble over my words. Remember to like the video if you liked it. If you like my content, want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. And if you have any sort of questions or comments, as long as they're nice and constructive, that's what comments are for down below. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.